Right now, somewhere in your house, maybe in a closet, maybe in a bin in the basement, maybe tucked in the corner of the attic, there could be a beat-up old lunchbox that is worth more than some people's monthly rent. I'm not exaggerating. The vintage lunchbox market has exploded over the last 2 decades, and the collectors driving those prices are not messing around. Some of these boxes sell for a few dozen dollars, some sell for a few thousand. And the difference between those two outcomes almost always comes down to 1 or 2 details that most people walk right past. So today we are going through 10 old lunchboxes, counting down from the least valuable to the most, and by the time we get to number 1, you are going to want to go dig through every box you own. Let's get into it. Number 10 on our list is the generic character lunchbox from the mid-1970s specifically. Any box featuring a licensed Saturday morning cartoon character that was not one of the major properties. Think something like H.R. Poof-and-Stoof, Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, or Land of the Lost. These are not the boxes everyone remembers, and that is exactly the point. Because the major characters, the Scooby-Doos, the Peanuts, got reprinted and re-released constantly, these oddball properties did not. The box you are looking for is metal, made by Aladdin Industries or King Sealy Thermos Company, and the lithograph, that is, the printed image on the metal, should be sharp and vivid with no significant flaking or rust. A box in good condition with the matching thermos can go for anywhere between $40 and $120, depending on which character and how well it has been kept. Here is the check you can do tonight. Flip the box over and look at the bottom. You should see a manufacturer's stamp that says either Aladdin Industries, Nashville, Tennessee, or King Sealy Thermos Company with a patent number. If you see one of those marks and the thermos is the same character, you are in business. These were the boxes that got traded around at school and then tossed in a closet. A lot of families have one and have no idea. If you thought that one was surprising, wait for this. Number 9 is the Hee Haw lunchbox, produced by OK Industries in the early 1970s. Now I know what you're thinking, Hee Haw, really? But here's the thing about this one. It was a regional favorite. It had a short production run. And because not everyone loved the show equally across the country, these boxes did not circulate as widely as the coast-to-coast hits did. Okay, Industries used a slightly heavier gauge metal than some of their competitors, which is actually a useful identifier here. Pick the box up. If it feels noticeably solid and dense for its size, that is consistent with OK Industries production from this period. A good condition example, meaning no deep dents, no rust through the lithograph, and ideally the dome thermos intact, can be worth around $80 to $150. The lithograph on authentic examples shows the cast in that familiar barnwood frame style, printed in warm yellows and oranges. If your box has that specific color palette and the OK Industries stamp on the bottom edge, it is the real thing and not a later novelty reproduction. Ever wonder why some of these look almost identical but one is worth 10 times more? That question gets very real when we talk about number 8. The Kung Fu Lunchbox from 1974, made by King Sealy Thermos. The television show starring David Carradine was a genuine phenomenon, and this box captured that moment perfectly, but it had a relatively short window of production before the show faded from primetime. The thing that makes this one tricky is that there are modern reproduction versions that have been floating around since the early 2000s. Here is how you tell them apart. On an original 1974 production, the lithograph has a particular warmth to the skin tones. The printing process of the era gave everything a slightly muted analog quality. Reproductions tend to be slightly oversaturated, the colors a little too clean. Combine that with the manufacturer's stamp. An original will say King Sealy Thermos Co. with the year and patent number stamped on the bottom. A complete set with the matching thermos in good shape is worth between $120 and $200. If you grew up watching martial arts shows, or your dad did, this might be the one sitting in a garage bin right now. Number 7 is where we start moving into territory that genuinely surprises people. The Bullwinkle and Rocky Lunchbox, produced by Universal in 1962, is one of the earliest character lunchboxes still in significant collector circulation. The date matters enormously here. 1962 is very early in the commercial lunchbox era, which means these boxes had a much smaller initial production run than something from a decade later. Look for the universal brand mark on the underside BA cheese. It is a small stamped logo that many people simply miss. The lithograph on this one is distinctive. The characters appear against a bright blue sky background with that classic J. Ward animation style, flat and graphic, and immediately recognizable. Condition is everything at this age. Even a box with minor surface wear but no rust penetration and no torn handle can fetch between $175 and $300. If the thermos is present and the cap is intact, you add meaningful value on top of that. This was the cartoon that kids in the early 60s went absolutely wild for, and plenty of those kids passed their things down without ever knowing what they had. Number 6 brings us to something that has a really interesting collector following. The Josie and the Pussycats lunchbox, made by Aladdin in 1971. This one taps into a very specific convergence. It is early 1970s, it is a female-fronted property, and Aladdin's printing quality that year was particularly clean. The reason this box commands attention is the lithograph detail, specifically the instrument art. On an authentic Aladdin 1971 production, you can make out individual strings on the guitar in the background art if you look closely in good light. That level of detail was a hallmark of Aladdin's lithography process at the time and is very difficult to replicate on cheaper reproductions. A complete set in very good condition, box and thermos, with the band art crisp and unfaded, can go for between $150 and $250. I'm not going to inflate this one. Without the thermos, you are looking at the lower end of that range, maybe a little below, but if you have the full set and it has been stored out of direct light, you might have something genuinely worth attention. If you thought that one was interesting, the next one is going to make you think very differently about something you might have considered just a cute old box. Number 5 is the Star Trek Lunchbox from 1967, made by Aladdin Industries. Now here is where this gets important. The original 1967 box is the only one from the first season of the original series. Star Trek went on to spawn a massive amount of merchandise across decades, and most people assume all those boxes are roughly equivalent. They are not. The 67 box has a very specific lithograph composition. The USS Enterprise is shown at a particular angle with the crew arranged in a pose that was only used in that first production year. Check the back of the box. An original 67 production has a sticker with the series title and CBS copyright notice, not NBC, because of how the licensing was structured at the time. That detail alone separates the original run from later editions. A 67 box in good condition with matching thermos has sold at auction for between $400 and $800. If yours is showing its age, but the lithograph is still reading clearly, it is worth having a closer look before you decide what to do with it. Number 4 is one that almost nobody thinks about until someone tells them what it's worth, and then they cannot stop thinking about it. The Beatles' yellow Submarine lunchbox, produced by Aladdin in 1971, is based not on the band's touring years, but on the animated film, which gives it a completely different visual vocabulary from any other Beatles merchandise of the era. The psychedelic art style, those deep blues and greens, and the submarine imagery was printed at a moment when Aladdin was at the top of their game technically. Here is the physical check for this one. Hold the box up at a slight angle under a strong lamp. On an authentic production, the color saturation in the submarine art has a layered quality. You can see that the colors were applied in passes rather than all at once, which gives the image a subtle depth. Cheap later reproductions tend to look flat. A complete set in excellent condition can go for between $500 and $900. The Beatles connection alone drives collector interest, but the specific 1971 film art is what makes this particular box the one to have. If it was your parents' box from their teenage years, and they kept everything, this might be it. And if you have found something you think might match that description or any of the ones we have talked about so far, do me a favor and hit the like button. It genuinely helps. And there is more to come. Number 3 is the one that often surprises people because it does not look obviously special. The Toppy the Elephant lunchbox, produced by American Thermos Bottle Company in 1957, is one of the earliest branded character lunchboxes ever made commercially in the United States. Toppy was the mascot of Top Value Stamps, which was a grocery store rewards program that millions of households participated in throughout the 50s. This was not a television character or movie character, it was a loyalty program mascot, which makes the box feel strange and almost random to modern eyes. But that strangeness is exactly what drives collector demand. The box is red with a prominent illustration of the elephant, and the American Thermos Bottle Company mark on the bottom should be clearly legible. Because this is a 1957 piece, the metal gauge is different from 60s and 70s boxes. It is lighter, and the edges have a slightly different roll to them. Any signs of significant rust are deal breakers at this price level. A well-preserved example can reach between $600 and $1,200, depending on condition and whether the matching thermos is present. This is a genuinely rare piece of mid-century commercial history, and most people would never look twice at it in a box of old stuff. Number 2 on this list is the one that collectors have been chasing for years. The Dudley Do-Right lunchbox, produced by Universal in 1962, is among the most sought-after boxes from the early era of character lunchbox production. Dudley Do-Right was part of the Rocky and Bullwinkle universe, produced by J. Ward Productions, and the 1962 box is notable for the specific color palette, a deep red background with the character rendered in that flat, slightly absurdist animation style that J. Ward was known for. Universal's 62 production boxes have a particular stamp configuration. You should see the Universal logo and the year marked on the underside within a 1/4 inch of each other, which was their internal quality control notation for that production year. This box is rare because the show never had the mass cultural saturation of something like Scooby-Doo, which means the initial print run was smaller and fewer were kept. In collectible condition with Thermos, this box is sold for between $900 and $2,000. If you are looking at a box in genuinely pristine shape, have it looked at by a professional before you do anything with it. At this level, the difference between good and excellent condition can mean hundreds of dollars, and you want to know exactly what you have. And that brings us to number 1. This is the one almost everyone in this country had growing up, and almost nobody knows about its value. The Thermos brand dome lunchbox, specifically the stainless steel and polypropylene dome-top Thermos from the early 1960s, is not a character box at all. It is a plain, utilitarian, designed to last forever lunchbox that was sold in the millions and was in basically every American school cafeteria from about 1960 through the mid-70s. So why is it on this list? Because the market for these plain American industrial design pieces has grown significantly among a very specific collector community that values the Thermos brand's early production design language. The key detail is the stainless steel interior and the specific Thermos logo from the 1960 to 1965 production window, a bold serif lettering on the exterior in either red or black, with the American Thermos Bottle Co. mark on the inside of the lid. Check the inside of yours. If you see that full company name on the lid interior and the riveted handle hardware, not a plastic strap, but riveted metal brackets, you have the right production era. A pristine example of this early Thermos dome box in near mint condition has sold for between $800 and $1,800. The irony is that the boxes people saved were usually the character ones because they were more fun to look at. The plain Thermos got tossed because it seemed boring. That underestimation is exactly what makes it the most valuable thing on this list. So there you have it. 10 lunchboxes, 10 chances that one of these is already somewhere in your house. The Dudley Do-Right from '62, the yellow Submarine from Aladdin, the very first Star Trek box, the 1957 Toppy the Elephant. Any one of these could be in a bin in your basement right now, still worth real money, still complete, still waiting. Subscribe to the channel if you want to keep finding out what your old things are actually worth. There are more of these coming. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Did you carry a lunchbox to school as a kid, and do you still have it somewhere? Tell me what it looked like. You might be surprised by what I say back. Take a closer look at what you already own. You might be sitting on more than you think.